Sometimes maybe it's just better to be alone. Welcome to the depths. Hello, welcome and welcome back to Reading from the Depths. My name is Lecton. Thanks for spending some time with me today. So today I have a review for you of I Can Fix Her by Rae Wilde. This is being published by Clash Books in early June of 2025, and I received a complimentary copy in exchange for an honest review. I have to say, this little novella is really affecting. Usually what draws me into a story is character and then plot. And this really doesn't have character or plot. It's more of a fever dream, or it follows a nightmare logic. So in terms of plot, all there really is our main character, Johnny. She meets her ex, Alice, at a cafe and goes back to her house. And that's it. That's all that happens. And then what happens at her house over the course of a week, or her apartment, excuse me. So the narrative doesn't have any thrust. It's more about them examining their relationship, who they are to each other, and who they are to themselves. And so when I say there isn't character, we do have these two main characters, Johnny and Alice, and you learn something about both of them, right? And they do have depth. They feel genuine. They feel like people you would know, or like yourself to some extent. And that is the scary part of it. But there isn't a lot of complicated character work. It's more about looking at specific parts of these characters and how those parts affect the whole, if that makes sense. So the story, for what it is, it's marketed as a horror novella or speculative fiction or science fiction. And what I'll say without giving anything away is that, Johnny meets Alice at this cafe, and she is really broken up over being apart from Alice. Now, she feels like Alice has a lot of issues, and that's why, the title is called I Can Fix Her. So Alice is running away from commitment. Alice is avoiding confrontation. Alice isn't dealing with her life in a way that Johnny feels is appropriate, but Johnny says, I still love her, and I can make it work. Like, I can do what has to happen to make her love me again. Right? I can be the kind of person she needs, and I can make sure she reaches her full potential, right? That's where the title comes. I Can Fix Her. So they go back to Alice's apartment, and let's just say that the next day, things change. And so, for instance, the breed of dog that Alice has is different the second day than it is on the first day. And little things like that keep changing, right? Because the story isn't about linear narrative. What this is about, trying to rationale complicated and toxic relationships as if they were healthy and fulfilling. Because the truth is, the toxicity in this relationship doesn't go in one direction. I mean, think of the title, I Can Fix Her. There is a codependency that's coming from our main character, Johnny. So the idea that all of the difficulties in this relationship were because of Alice is belied by the title itself. And you see that very clearly. So this is an exploration into what it means to be in a relationship with another person, but also with yourself, and how that relationship is the externalization of all of your interior concerns, your predispositions, your preoccupations, the things that live in your mind affect how you exist in the world and how you treat others and how you relate to others. And the story uses nightmare logic to examine what it means to be with someone, what it means to be there for someone, what it means to understand yourself in relationship to someone else. It is also an examination of what it means to change, what it means to grow into a relationship or grow apart, and is it possible to start anything fresh, or are you caught in cycles, whether they be cycles of trauma or cycles of grief or other sort of feedback loops, positive or negative. Can anything ever be fresh again? Or are we constantly doing the same thing over and over again and not realizing that we're making the same mistakes? What does it take to change? What does it take to be a different person? What does it take to put your ego to the side so you can be fully present with the person you want to be with? And is that ever possible? Do you have to sacrifice part of yourself in order to be in union with someone else? And Rae Wilde does a great job of exploring these ideas. The writing is really tense. It is really fast-paced. It is very atmospheric. And like I said, this is a novella. You can read the whole thing in a single sitting, practically. I think I read it in 2 sittings because I had to take a break to have my lunch. That's how fast this reads. It's just a little over 100 pages. It's really compelling. Like, once you dig in, even though there isn't any plot, and even though what is going on beggars belief, it draws you in because there's an authenticity about it. An authenticity that isn't about the facts, but about the experience and the emotional truth. And so the writing does a really good job of capturing that interiority, capturing what emotional truth looks like, even if, and especially when, it is discordant with external truth. So the writing is really strong. And like I said, the characters are interesting insofar as they are reflections of us. Johnny and Alice both, neither of them are perfect, and yet you can see aspects of yourself reflected in both of them, in their wants and their desires, in their exasperations, and in how they want to be with each other and alone. So the characters serve as not only a foil for each other, but as a mirror for the audience. So with strong and atmospheric writing, really interesting characters that serve as ciphers for the audience member, and with this dream slash nightmare logic that is, it envelops you as a reader, and it makes you say, what is going on? You're constantly questioning why things are happening. And the answers, there isn't like a clear answer, like this happened because of this, and this happened because of this. It's more about taking the external and making it external in such a way that you can try to grapple with it and see if there's anything that can be salvaged from this relationship. The most important toxic relationship in the story, of course, is the relationship with oneself, right? It isn't with the other, it's with the self. And it is how to heal your own wounds in such a way that allows you to be a complete and full person for someone else. And I won't say how it ends, I won't say what happens. I will say that it is a fun ride, it is a quick ride. The writing and the pacing and the atmosphere are all really strong. The characters are interesting and they are comfortable insofar as like you feel like you know them. And it is looking at really important ideas, and ideas that I think affect all of us that exist in relationship to others. Not even necessarily romantic relationships, but we all exist in relationship to others, whether it be our friends or our family members. And what does it mean to be in relationship with another? And is it ever possible to be a genuine, complete self if that self is independent upon those people in your orbit with whom you have relationships? If you're always defined by others, can you ever be complete in and of yourself? So those ideas I think are really fun to look at, and I think it's a very interesting and fun and immersive way to do that. So I had a lot of fun with this story. Like I said, it is really short, so I encourage everyone to pick it up. Take an afternoon to read it, and the ideas that it's playing with will last a lot longer than, the few hours it takes to get through the pages. I think that's all I have to say. If I say anything else, I'm going to be giving away things that I don't want to give away. I will just say that this is classified as horror, which feels like a little bit of a stretch, but horror, speculative fiction, science fiction are all labels that are given to this short novella, and to some extent or another, they all fit, and so that can help you prepare yourself for some of the kind of mind-twisty things that are going to happen over the course of the week that these two characters spend together. With that said, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What are other stories you can recommend that have to do with relationships and have to do with the relationship between self and other? I'd love to hear any suggestions about that. Or if you've had a chance to read this by Rae Wilde or any of her other work, I'd love to hear your thoughts about that as well down in the comments. For now, though, I'll say thank you for spending some time with me in this quick review today. I appreciate you. Please be kind to yourselves, take care of each other, and go slowly.